Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels, occasionally I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want. Hello everybody and welcome to Gene's Reviews from a regular dude, down in the basement. Today we're going to do one from Top 5 Unknowns. This is 5 YouTubers finding things that help solve cases. So, see, there's something that YouTube's good for right there. Let's check this out.
In the last few years, the genre of exploration YouTube videos has grown quite popular.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
A more specific subgenre that has gained attention is underwater adventure videos, in which YouTubers trained in scuba diving search for interesting items at the bottoms of lakes, rivers, and even the ocean. In these 5 videos, divers came across items that helped solve cold and missing persons cases. Number 5. Adventure with Purpose is a name you'll hear several times throughout this video. AWP is a channel that covers the explorations of a man named Jared Lasek and his small diving team. As their channel name entails, they use their time and equipment to travel from place to place in search of evidence related to cold and missing persons cases. Sometimes they are contacted by the families of victims who presume they may have a missing or past loved one sitting at the bottom of a body of water somewhere. On occasion, they're also contacted by police and law officials in different areas to lend a helping hand in underwater searches. Using revenue from the channel as well as their own personal funds, the AWP team has been credited with helping solve many open cases.
That's cool.
This particular video was uploaded in October of 2020. It has nearly 2 million views and follows the team as they search for a missing man named Nicholas Allen in Linwood, North Carolina. A few months before this footage was filmed, the missing man's mother and aunt contacted the AWP team to help them search a local river for their lost loved one. Unfortunately, the team resides in Oregon and didn't have the time or funds available to fly out. According to the AWP's description on this video, they were later contacted by a firefighter that lived near the river at the York Hill boat ramp, where Nick was believed to be sunken underwater. The firefighter explained that 6 other vehicles had been found beneath the surface, but that the search teams did not conduct a more thorough search and possibly passed over Nick's vehicle a few more feet into the water. The team agreed and were able to fly out to North Carolina and conduct the exploration. Nick had been missing for 8 months by the time his family saw the AWP team's arrival as a glimmer of hope in closing the case of their missing loved one. The AWP team stated after a short period of just 30 minutes on the water, using side-scan sonar, we identified 3 vehicles underwater, with one of them appearing to be in the shape of a Dodge Journey, similar in size and shape to Judy's car. 2 members of the team dived in to confirm whether or not the vehicle in question held Nick inside. Once underwater, they almost instantly confirmed the make and model of the truck, but as a safe measure, they removed the license plate and brought it to the surface. The family was able to confirm that the plate belonged to Nick's mother's car that he'd taken out on the night before and gone missing in. At this point, the sheriff was called and the AWP team was sadly removed from the search.
Yeah, they don't want to, if there's a body down there, they wouldn't want to touch it. You'd contact the authorities to get them to do it.
Officials took over and were able to pull the truck out of the water. Inside, they found the remains that were later confirmed to be Nicholas Allen. While the discovery was heartbreaking for the family, who can be heard throughout the video sobbing and praying, it was also a huge relief knowing that their loved one had been found. The discovery would have never happened if the AWP team didn't step in and take action after the sheriff's department refused to search the area.
Yeah, it's good that they have closure, but it's still sad finding out, you know. At least when they didn't know, they had some kind of hope. Now they don't have any hope. It sucks.
Number 4. The YouTube channel DollMyD is run by a trained scuba diver named Jake. His channel has over 11 million subscribers that tune in to witness Jake in action as he explores a plethora of water locations across the US among his many videos. Jake and his team have captured underwater footage of some pretty impressive finds. Most of their discoveries are considered pretty normal, such as a lost cell phone, ruined shoes, and of course a lot of trash. In some of the team's other videos, however, completely shocking items have been found. One video actually shows Jake coming across an active bomb near a kayaking area. This video, which was uploaded in April of 2019, shows an amazing find in the Suwannee River in Florida. As the footage shows, Jake was one of the first to dive into the water. He searched around and passed by many useless items before he found something totally creepy. Jake swam to shore to show off an urn he found covered in algae and sand. It was obvious to the team that the urn contained remains and wasn't thrown in empty. Despite the shock of this discovery, Jake and his peers chose to return the item where they found it, assuming that perhaps the burial site was what the person would have wanted. Additionally, this item ended up being nothing in comparison to what they found later. On the second dive down, Jake once again came across nothing of interest and decided to take a break. Another diver on the team, named Chris, took this as an opportunity to dive for himself and search around, as the team often does. After just a few moments below the surface, Chris pops up to announce that he found a small firearm. The team gathers around to inspect the discovery and instantly notice that the tool was in amazing condition. It didn't appear as though it had been underwater for very long. Chris mentions that while there is some corrosion, the serial numbers on the device were clear as day. This wasn't the first time that someone from the team found something like this.
That could be linked to a crime or something. You'd have to turn that in.
In fact, it was Chris's second time finding something like this. However, this one was special compared to the others because of its mint condition. Anytime the team finds firearms underwater, they contact local police to turn them over as they may be related to unsolved cases. Most of the time, when that happens, the items are too corroded to be of any use and are disposed of properly. This item was different though. When the officers arrive, they question the team as they inspected the item. One officer calls his supervisor to run the serial number, and as it turns out, the firearm was reported stolen 2 years before this discovery. Police mentioned that the tool was chunked into the water, and it may have been in an attempt to cover a crime.
Sure.
It was then taken in for evidence, and while there's no information on what happened after that, it's very important that detectives were able to link it to a case. Regardless, the cold case of this stolen item was solved, meaning that Jake, Chris, and the team worked to bring forward justice.
That's cool.
Number 3. On July 31st, 2019, a 22-year-old man named Nathan Ashby left his Warrenton, Missouri home and headed to work around 6:45 a.m. A few hours later, Nate's place of employment contacted his family in an attempt to reach out to him about missing his shift entirely. This was an obvious and immediate red flag to Nate's loved ones, and things began to spiral into tragedy. A search team was sparked to find the missing man. According to Nate's sister, Rebecca Diller, investigators checked Nate's phone signal to see where it pinged for the last time before it died. The results showed that the phone's last known location was surprisingly close to a boat ramp near the Missouri River on Bernheimer Road. In an article provided by NBC News, after Rebecca learned of the phone's pinged location, she had a gut feeling that her brother was below the surface, inside of his 1994 Chevrolet Silverado. The Warren County Sheriff's Office contacted Water Patrol investigators to check out the scene and determine if Nate's truck was in the river.
It's weird how you just get, feelings and they turn out to be true.
The team was able to confirm that 3 vehicles in total were abandoned below the surface. Oddly enough, the sheriff's department reported that this kind of thing was common and that many vehicles had been dumped or lost in the area, but that there was no immediate way to determine if one of them was Nate's truck. In November of 2019, a few months after Nate disappeared, investigators made plans for a dive team to get a look of the found vehicles. However, weather conditions and water currents prevented this investigation from moving forward, according to the sheriff. In that same month, the diving team, Adventures with Purpose, reached out to Nate's family, expressing their interest in helping with the search. AWP then made plans with the Warren County Sheriff's Office and were approved to move forward as additional volunteers in the search team. On December 29, 2019, the focused investigation began and members of the AWP team dove into the river. Over the course of 9 hours, the various teams and members worked together using both standard diving and sonar technology to find the missing man. Finally, the AWP team was able to confirm that one of the vehicles was Nate's truck. After the evidence was pulled out of the river, officers on the scene asked that the volunteers and members of Nate's family distance themselves to prevent anyone accidentally spotting the horror inside of the truck. Remains were found and later confirmed to be Nathan Ashby. Although his family would obviously prefer to have found their relative alive, this discovery was still able to provide them with closure on the case so that they may grieve properly and move forward.
Did he die?
If you'd like any more details or information on AWP's involvement with this case, they've uploaded a 1-hour video of their efforts.
Okay, now I'm going to have to go check that channel out. Adventures with Purpose. Because they didn't tell us how he died.
Number 2. Depths of History is another popular YouTube channel under the genre of underwater exploration. The channel was founded by a man named Britton, who eventually built a small team of divers that travel from town to town in search of amazing underwater discoveries, especially antique items. While they may set out in search of specific items, the world of underwater adventures is known to be quite unpredictable, and there have been several cases in which they found impressive, unsettling, or even dangerous things below the water's surface. For this example, in this exploration, multiple items relating to criminal activity were found in a remote area. In October of 2020, Britain teamed up with members of the AWP team to go on a mission in a river near Atlanta. The specific location they chose to explore was located beneath a bridge that once had a constant flow of traffic passing over it. It had since been abandoned and the driver access was blocked off, but the team still understood that the placement of the bridge would interfere with their search. A bridge usually means trash, so Britton and his peers assumed that most of what they would come across would be general litter, and maybe a few lost cell phones from trespassers and previous divers. A few members, though, believed that they would be able to locate abandoned and sunken vehicles. While they weren't able to find any cars on their own, they did make a strange discovery that ultimately led to police involvement. During the first portion of diving, the team found over 15 cell phones of differing brands, a ruined laptop, and someone's wallet completely intact. These items didn't seem like anything special until several firearms were found during the following dives. It's not unheard of for these divers to find such tools, but it is rare to find items in decent condition with visible serial numbers. One member actually pulled an AR-15 out of the water and was completely surprised by it. He described it as being a bucket list item he had always hoped to find. Of course, as many of these teams do, the divers set out the weapons they found and called police.
Yeah.
An officer arrived and was able to report the AR's serial number to a dispatch officer that confirmed it was stolen and involved in a robbery case. This information suggested that the other items could have been dumped by the same person because they were found in such close proximity, and many of the phones were what is known as burner phones that criminals use and dispose of in an effort to not leave tracks behind their crimes. It's unclear what happened in the case that followed, but this team's AR discovery probably led to the closure or reawakening of a since-forgotten case.
What would you guys do if you were like out in the woods or something and you found a suitcase full of like $100,000 or $200,000 or something like that? I would be so tempted to keep it, but I don't think I would, just for the fact that if you've ever seen the movie A Simple Plan with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton and Bridget Fonda, they do that and things don't go real well.
Number 1.
I think I'd turn it in and hope for a reward of some kind. Maybe keep a little bit of it. I don't know.
A man named Timothy Robinson was reported missing in November of 2008. His loved ones reported that he left a note behind stating that he planned to drive his car off of a boat ramp. While the search party checked many local boat ramps, they were never able to recover any evidence relating to the missing persons case, and the search eventually went cold. For 12 years, Timothy's family grieved over the loss of their loved one. Although they believed that he went through with his plan and was no longer alive, they wanted to have final closure by locating his remains and putting him to rest properly. It seemed that for his family, all hope was not lost. Things changed in May of 2020 when Adventures with Purpose accidentally solved the case. The team was diving in the Willamette River in Milwaukee, Oregon. They'd heard news of possibly sunken cars in the area and set out on what they described as an environmental recovery, meaning that they planned to remove the vehicles on the basis of improving the river and its wildlife. During their first quick dive, they found 3 cars deep within the water and went on to conduct a plan to have them all safely marked and roped so they could be pulled out. One of those cars happened to be a Mazda 6, the same type of vehicle Timothy Robinson drove away in before his disappearance. However, this information was unknown to the AWP team at the time, and they treated the vehicle just like any other. In this footage, you can see that as the car is being pulled out, the AWP team was swimming around it, holding their phones. That's because at that moment they were live streaming to their fans. One member swam up to the driver's side window of the vehicle and stood for a moment, confused by what he was seeing. He then began to shout and stopped his stream because he realized that remains were sitting in the driver's seat. At that moment, you could really feel the urgency and horror in his voice as he shouts for the streams to be cut. Even in this upload of the footage, the remains are blurred out of respect for the victim. The team pulled the car a few more feet onto land so that officers and investigators could more easily inspect the area. The authorities were then called and all evidence was towed away. Later that day, the AWP team was informed that the remains belonged to missing Timothy Robinson. Thanks to their daring discovery, AWP hoped to close yet another missing persons case.
Well, at least the family has closure now. They know what happened and they don't have to worry about it. It's crazy. I'm going to have to check out some of those channels now. Adventures with Purpose was the name of one of them. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, check it out. My dad and my sister were always into like metal detecting. They loved doing that stuff. I never really got into it. Not that I didn't like it. I just never, for some reason, never got into it like they did. But yeah, I'm not real good in the water, so I couldn't go diving or anything like that. How about a joke? This is a pickup line. Let's see here. Do you like sales? 'Cause clothing is 100% off at my house. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hashtag Mean Gene, all that fun stuff. And if you like this video, tell all your friends, leave a comment down below. And if you didn't like it, then just shut up. And I will see you next time.